Check out this post published on President Trump's official account. Trump reacted with maximum force and put Latin America at the center of a new phase in the war against transnational criminal groups. This Saturday, June 13, 2026, the President of the United States announced that the Southern Command carried out a military strike that killed Hector Hustenford. Guerrero Flores, known as Niño Guerrero, identified as the leader of the Tren de Aragua, one of the most feared Venezuelan gangs on the continent. The operation took place on Venezuelan soil, with coordination from Venezuelan authorities, and targeted the leader of an organization accused of trafficking, extortion, violence, money laundering, and criminal expansion across several nations. That's when the case goes beyond a military operation. The White House warns that terrorists, cartels, and gang leaders will no longer have guaranteed refuge, neither in Venezuela nor anywhere else. What did Trump order to be done? How does this operation change the game against cartels in Caracas? How am I going to tell you all about this? If you like this kind of straightforward, no-nonsense content, consider subscribing because we have videos like this every day. The attack was announced by Trump as a swift, lethal action directly authorized by him. The target was Niño Guerrero, the leader of the Tren de Aragua, a group that originated within the Venezuelan prison system and spread through criminal routes in various parts of the continent. According to international news reports, the operation took place in the state of Bolivar, Venezuela, an area marked by illegal mining, hideouts, and the presence of armed groups. The United States Southern Command joined the operation as the military arm of the American response, while Venezuelan authorities acted with intelligence cooperation and local support. The political message came along with the military impact. Trump wanted to show that the border will no longer be seen only as a migration problem, but as an entry point for criminal organizations that cross nations, exploit loopholes, and attack ordinary citizens. Niño Guerrero was not treated by American authorities as an ordinary criminal. The United States Department of the Treasury had already sanctioned Guerrero and other leaders of the Tren de Aragua for involvement in drug trafficking, human trafficking, extortion, and money laundering. The Department of Justice had also filed charges against him in New York, identifying the Venezuelan as a key figure in transforming a prison gang into an international criminal organization. There were also rewards of up to $5 million for information leading to his arrest. When Trump announced the death of the leader, he presented the action as fulfilling a promise made during his campaign to expel foreign criminals, target cartels, and respond to families affected by violence. In February 2025, the United States designated the faction as a foreign terrorist organization. This classification paved the way for sanctions, asset freezes, financial blockades, and the use of tougher tools against members and allies. Trump used this basis to frame the gang not just as a police problem, but as a national security threat. It is this change that explains why the Southern Command is now appearing. The White House's logic is simple. If the cartel operates as a transnational force with violence, trafficking, and a scattered command, the response also needs to cross borders. The Venezuelan government appears in the case as a direct partner in the operation. That also draws attention. For years, Washington and Caracas have been in diplomatic conflict, political accusations, and power struggles. Now, the death of Niño Guerrero was presented as the result of coordination between the United States and Venezuelan authorities. Venezuela said there were no American troops on its territory, but confirmed cooperation in intelligence, technology, and confronting criminal groups. In practice, the operation shows that when faced with a threat like the Tren de Aragua, even previously stalled relationships can change. When it comes to dismantling a criminal organization that has grown too much. For Trump, the warning was not just for a Venezuelan gang, it was for all the cartels that believed they could cross borders without paying a real price. Leaders of terrorist organizations will be hunted wherever they are. The case of Venezuela is a direct warning for Brazil, because the path is starting to look similar. First, a faction grows inside prisons, takes over territory, builds a financial network, crosses borders, and starts to challenge the state. Then, it stops being treated as just ordinary crime and comes onto the international security radar. That's what happened with the Tren de Aragua, which became a target of the United States after being classified as a terrorist organization. And that's when Brazil needs to look at its own backyard. PCC and Comando Vermelho have already been placed by the United States on the list of terrorist organizations, and that raises the stakes. It's no longer just operations in favelas, arresting gang lieutenants, or seizing shipments. Now, it involves financial restrictions, risks for companies doing business with contaminated networks, pressure on banks, fuel suppliers, ports, transportation, and politicians who pretend not to see the expansion of these factions. Venezuela showed what happens when a gang grows too much and becomes a regional threat. Brazil is heading toward that same point. When factions leave prisons, they control neighborhoods, infiltrate businesses, use shell companies, and even show up in schemes connected to the fuel sector. The difference is that now Trump has set a new rule. Anyone treated as a terrorist can no longer count on the old protection of bureaucracy, borders, or the sovereignty argument used to hide negligence. The operation also reinforces the role of the Southern Command, the United States military unit responsible for Latin America and the Caribbean, which now appears as a direct instrument of Trump's strategy against regional cartels and terrorist organizations. This changes the environment for criminal leaders who previously relied on hideouts outside American territory. The border is no longer the only pressure point. The hunt now targets leadership, financing, routes, hideouts, and local alliances. The Tren de Aragua was never a small group. He grew stronger in a prison, built a network of influence, expanded into illegal activities, and began operating beyond Venezuelan borders. Cooperation with the United States shows that pressure on this type of organization is no longer just an internal problem. When a faction starts affecting several nations, causing serial crimes, moving illegal money, and challenging authorities, it becomes an immediate international target. Rationale. Trump, he tries to capitalize on this moment as proof of leadership. He promised war against cartels, promised to tighten the border, promised to go after foreign criminals, and now presents the death of Ninho Guerrero. As a practical demonstration of this approach, the White House wants to show that the terrorist designation wasn't just a piece of paper signed in Washington. I'm Milson Alves, an internationalist, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, check out the comments. That way, you can be even more engaged with the community. Wilson Alves.